All right, I'd like to call to order the Urban Design Commission meeting for Wednesday, September 8th, 2010. Can we have a roll call?
Mark Kimmerer.
Here.
Doug Gasek. Patrick. James Doherty.
Here.
Jim Sawhill.
Here.
Andrew Garcia. Patricia Joyner.
Here.
Deb Dinwiddie.
Present.
Thomas Tybor.
Next, we'll move on to approval of the minutes. We were issued 3 different meeting minutes in the packet. Our agenda indicates 4, so I'll entertain a motion to approve the November 18th, the December 9th, and the May 12th minutes. Moved by Commissioner Joyner and seconded by Commissioner Sawhill. Any objection to approving the minutes? Seeing none, they pass. Next on the agenda is disclosures. Any of the commissioners have any disclosures to make this evening? We move on to the consent agenda. Do I have a motion to approve the consent agenda? So moved by Commissioner Kimmerer, seconded by Commissioner Joyner. Any objection to approving the consent agenda? Seeing and hearing none, it passes. There is nothing on the agenda for unfinished business. We also don't have anything on the regular agenda. No public hearings or appearance requests. Sharon, do you have anything to report?
Yes, there are a few things to talk about. The first one is Pat Coleman is resigning from the UDC. He has a job offer back in Michigan, so he's going back there. So, we're going to have a vacancy, and I've spoken to Jay Jackson, who is the person in charge of filling vacancies, and I put forward the name of a civil engineer, and so that's going to be under consideration. So hopefully we might have it filled fairly soon, the vacancy. Secondly, I think this is Patricia Joyner's last meeting is tonight. Her term is up, or her terms are up, and it's actually next month, but she's going to be out of town next month. It normally would have been her last meeting. But so Patricia's been on the UDC for, 6 years? Yeah. A good long term. And, Patricia's been really, really great to have on the UDC, as you all know. And then the other thing is to talk about the tour date. Since there are 4 commissioners that can make the 15th, which is next Wednesday, and 3 that can't, we're kind of nearly 50-50 on that, or 60-40. Anyway, so I wanted to throw out the possibility of either meeting next Tuesday night or next Thursday night, if that works any better for any of you. Jim says no.
I'm out all next week. So.
Okay, all right.
And then the following week, my schedule's pretty full. I'll be working out of town. So.
Okay, all right. So, Mark, you are one who couldn't make it Wednesday. Is Tuesday or Thursday any better for you?
Either of those nights work, yes.
Okay.
Tuesday works for me. Thursday doesn't.
Okay, let's, Jeff, what about you, Tuesday or Thursday?
Tuesday.
Tuesday is your preference. And James?
It's kind of up in the air. There's an assembly meeting that night, and I might be making some testimonials.
Okay.
So I don't think Tuesday's going to work. Thursday was the other one?
Thursday is okay? And Jeff, you for sure can't do Thursday?
No, I think I'm leaving Wednesday through Friday.
Okay,
Thursday is good.
all
Can we
right.
do it at an earlier time or something? I mean, does it have to be during the assembly meeting?
Would have
Or
to
do
be
you
during,
not know?
Probably have to be during the day then.
Are you certain, James, that you're going to,
I'm not at this point, but there's a likelihood. There's some stuff going on that is being organized.
okay. Well, I'll talk to the others tomorrow. Tom is one. We need to find Andrew. He's kind of up in the air. His wife is expecting another baby. And then Doug is the only other one. So I'll send messages to Tom and Doug and see what's up with them. If not, what do you think about meeting the following week? The only thing is we're losing the light.
Maybe we could start a little earlier, like,
We could start at 6 or even 5:30. How does 5:30 sound?
I could probably do
Tuesday and
5:30.
Wednesday's not good for me because we're having a workshop in Palmer.
The following week.
You too, probably.
Oh, that's right. We'll have to try and fit it in next week with who we can go with and leave it with that. And so I'll send out an email after I talk to Tom and Doug. The other thing we discussed is that Mark and I, before the meeting started, Mark had a suggestion that we might get together this winter and do a winter lights tour around Anchorage to have a look at that. You're all interested in seeing some projects by night?
Yeah.
Okay. And the other thing, there were some concerns expressed about having Scott go on the tour, and from the designers, the landscape architects. So what I've decided to do is not have Scott go on the tour, and instead, we've got two options. It may be probably too late this summer to do something with the UDC, Patricia, in any case, whether she's on the UDC or not on the UDC, and Scott, and then with the landscape architects. Because at some point, we're going to have to work out this tree spacing, or at least discuss it, how best to approach it. So it may be too late to try and do it, this fall, so perhaps we'll do it next summer, early in the summer. But we can always get together this fall or winter just to have a meeting to discuss it, but not actually go on site and look at trees. So we might do that this fall or winter and then follow it up with maybe another bus tour in the summer, early summer. How's that sound? Okay.
Well, I won't be here, but if we look next week, that's something we should look at, because looking at trees on site or anything on site is totally different than looking at dots, especially when they're things that grow. And so I picked some sites and thought it's really important to look at mature sites and mature trees and picture those in sites where we just see little dots and think about what it's going to look like in 10 or 20 years.
Yeah, and maybe when we're at this meeting in the fall or winter, we can talk about what we need to see on the plans that's not on the plans, like utilities or underground or overhead wires, and maybe we get together sort of a checklist of things we need and want to see, and that can be part of, because there is a handbook, we're calling it, that's going to be coming out. As soon as Title 21 is finished, the next thing on the agenda is to do these handbooks. There'll be one for landscaping, there'll be one for other elements of the comp plan, of Title 21. And so we have the opportunity then to put in what we want to see in the site plans and landscape plans.
Well, and for a winter meeting, I think our company probably has 20 gigabytes of file photos from every job we've done for 20 years. We have continuation we have 10-year-old photos, 15-year-old photos. In particular, we have Alyeska Hotel from the 90s the 2000s, and we have recent photos, and we have schools that we have tracked for 10 years. So we probably have enough file footage, and we also archive plans electronically. So, pretty much, I think somebody had asked for plans about
Right.
We have everything electronically. I think I sent the ones that were easily right on my desktop at that moment, but it wouldn't take an assistant but half a day to put some stuff together for a meeting that I think we have quite a bit that would be helpful, and not just our stuff, but just
Okay.
citywide, so.
Maybe that would be really useful probably for that indoor meeting we'll have.
Yeah, like a winter meeting.
For the winter meeting.
Yeah, we could put together, 20-some sites that have installation pictures, 5-year pictures, and maybe even some 10-year pictures.
Okay, yeah, that'd be really great. Anything else anyone wanted to talk about?
A different subject, or are we still on this?
Anything?
Because the minutes reminded me of something I asked for, and I'll ask one more time, and maybe somebody else can follow up, that I thought was important. And about, I think, is maybe the May meeting when we had the person come who wanted to speak and couldn't because they have to request ahead of time. I asked, could we have something on the front page of the agenda that explained everything's not a public meeting and that it's not always open so people know ahead of time? And I asked where it says appearance request, because to me, and I think everybody on the commission, and so I think the public would think the same, that meant you request to appear, because it doesn't say call a certain number and schedule your request ahead of time. And if that's how it should be, it should say that on the agenda. And I spent a half hour in Title 21 trying to find where this is defined and where it says you have to do it that way, and I couldn't find it, so I expect most of the public couldn't find it either. I think we ought to do all we can to encourage people to participate in public process, not make it difficult like we're guarding some state secrets. And I could even do it, but it's not like it's hard to write on here and explain to people who don't. I did this 6 years, and I obviously wasn't understanding, so I think we ought to make it where anybody can pick it up and see how it works and how they participate, and not show up and then be told you go home, or you should have understood what it meant when it's not clear. So I would just ask again, could we just do that?
Yeah, I had brought it up at a staff meeting, and we're supposed to get together, some of us in the department, and rewrite and look at these agendas and straighten that out.
Because all I could find, it said the agenda is set by the commissions, and then it said it has to be according to such and such a code. And when you look that up, it just says what the UDC does. It doesn't say anywhere in the agenda has to say blah, 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 and this is what it means. So if it says that somewhere, it's hidden in the depths where I couldn't find it.
Patricia, again, where did you say you saw that? You looked it up?
Well, just if you just look under, it has roles of commissions, and you'd think it'd be there, and then it said something about, under the UDC part, that the agendas are set by the commissions.
And that was
It's on the
something
regular
online?
Title 21, when you look up boards and commissions, and then
Yeah.
it's got like procedures,
Okay.
and then it refers you to one of the, an entry like .25015 or something. But then when you look there, it didn't say anything about this should be on the agenda, so I didn't quite understand why somebody couldn't appear.
We haven't forgotten, and just to let you know, we're doing a couple different things besides looking at fixing the fronts of the agendas for all the boards and commissions. We're also going to put we're looking at we're putting it on our website, like a meeting procedures thing for everybody, that will include the process for the request to speak and things like that. And then another thing that I got, I want to say 2 weeks ago, was a sample from another commission somewhere. Angela brought it to me. It's a pamphlet that just gets handed out. That if somebody's here and isn't aware of it, that they can have it to see, as well as changing the front of the agenda. But we haven't gotten it finalized yet.
Okay, thanks. I just wanted to make sure it wasn't forgotten, because a lot of things come and disappear and nobody remembers.
I covered all my...
What was confusing to me in that discussion was that we kind of talked about, well, we have a place for appearance requests, but it's after all of the new business, or after all of the, sort of regular agenda items. So if somebody really wanted to mention how their community council wasn't involved or something like that, we wouldn't know that until after we've taken action on their case. So that seems a little strange, too. And I don't know whether the order can be changed that way, but that always seemed to be strange, that if that was the recourse, that they would have an opportunity to speak, but they would be speaking after all of the action has taken place.
And we've had people come, they don't even want to speak on a case that night, they just had something they wanted to talk about. And I know it's been a while, but assembly meetings, I've seen people show up and they just want to say something, and they let them have their 3 minutes.
Yeah, that appearance request is not meant to talk about a case. It's just meant to talk about something in general that the UDC may be interested in hearing.
But we have had cases when it was important to hear from somebody because they gave us information we needed that we wouldn't have had otherwise. I mean, the classics.
But we got scolded for that because we're not supposed to do that, and that was my dilemma. It's like, how do we put good procedure and credibility into the board and do things the way we're supposed to, but then the way we're supposed to seems to sort of lock the public out of an important process.
Well, it locks people out. I mean, the people who are getting locked out are the people who don't come that night because they didn't know that something was going on. And that's what Kim was always talking about, that we can't let people talk because if they talk, then you're only hearing one side because everyone else who may have had an opposing view didn't know and didn't show up and didn't speak. So that's why we have to not let anybody speak, and if they do want to say something, then they, submit it in writing, then it goes into the commissioner's packet.
On the other hand, well, it does give you the opportunity to see there's something wrong with the process, and you can, I think we said there should be a public hearing. I mean, I understand that part, and you shouldn't let somebody speak and you hear one side of it, but it gives you the option of saying, there's a problem with the system somewhere here, so obviously we want to at least recommend that there be some sort of hearing so that these people who felt like they didn't get to participate get to, and then, maybe the city won't do it. But
yeah, it's just that these are public projects, and so they're not subject to that public hearing process. And that's the way it is. That would be pretty difficult to change that process. Because they have to, whoever the petitioner has to spend a lot more money, and then that money the department uses to send out notices to everyone within 500 to 600 feet of that site. They get a piece of paper in the mail, and that process is not for public projects because normally they don't have the controversy surrounding them as a commercial project would, and so we don't go through that process.
Could there be an intermediate, another method of notification for this type of meeting that's not so onerous and not so costly?
What the city has now is an online, if people are interested in knowing what's going on in the community, they can go in and just tap in, their zip code, and it comes up what's taking place, what is going on at UDC or P&Z or ZEBA or plating, and then they can see what cases are coming up. But it's really having to be proactive on the citizens' part. Otherwise, they won't know unless they've gone to their community council meeting, but that's also the onus, again, is on the citizen to be proactive.
Well, in that case, some people weren't here. 50 people showed up who had been involved in the process all along and felt like they were ignored, and it did go back to the drawing board, and we ended up with something that the community and everyone does seem to support. So it may not have been like how we're supposed to do it, but in the end, sometimes that's what happens. And it's
I mean, we've had some park projects that way, like Russian Jack Springs Park. That one was a public process, but everybody knew what was going on with that in the neighborhood. So the really big, controversial public projects, people do find out about them, but the smaller ones, they probably don't know.
Well, I guess my point was they all knew, but they felt like the process wasn't working, and they hadn't had an opportunity to, if I remember right on that one. And if I can just say thank you to everyone, it's a good learning process for me. Appreciate the staff and all the people put in time. I think it's important that people put in time in their community to do things like this, and I think it's good for us and also the public served in having people bring expertise and experience to the municipality that staff doesn't have, and also just being a citizen and representing the public interest and looking out for the little guys and the big guys and making sure the process stays fair. It gets long sometimes, but it's important, so I thank people for doing that.
And we thank you for your service. I've always appreciated your input. You've always taken this position very seriously and brought a lot of important things to light that otherwise I don't think that we would have been considering. So thank you for your service, and hopefully when we have these trips and special meetings and things, you'll feel like an adjunct member of the commission. So thank you for your service.
Yeah, and I want to talk to Patricia about getting some names of arborists or tree people to kind of take her place next time we have a vacancy who might be good, because, I've learned a whole lot by having you here. And I think it's an important perspective we need to maintain on the commission.
Yeah, I wasn't joking when I said that you had to have somebody with your same sort of skills to bring that perspective forward, because it doesn't seem to be, landscape architects bring a particular thing forward, and civil engineers bring a thing forward, but arborist seems to have a different skill set and a different set of concerns that have been very valuable. So you got to find somebody else. Anything else for the good of the commission?
I don't have anything, unless anyone else has something they want to talk about.
Anyone? Motion to adjourn? So moved by Commissioner Kimmer, seconded by Commissioner Dinwiddie. I see no objection. We are adjourned.